welcome to the InstantCast presented by the PewterCast. I am Brent Allen. I'm your host. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Ren Daxt. Ren, how are we feeling tonight, buddy?
I'm good. I'm okay. About what I expected. I was saying that it was going to be a race to 40. It wasn't going to be a lot of defense played, and if it wasn't for 9 turnovers, I think that's what we'd have got. But, not shocked about the outcome. You know, we knew it was going to happen, and it did, which is a loss.
I got to be honest. I really thought we were going to win this one. I really did.
I feel that, this one was the most winnable of the last 4. But are you shocked that we did lose?
No. Yeah. I mean, this is what we've been talking about. Like, I predicted a Green Bay win, I predicted a Lions win, and I've predicted that we would win one of the last 3 of our division games, ending us on a 3-5 record for the season. 2 of the ones that I said that we would win, we have now lost. You know, but I also said that all of the games that we had remaining were winnable. They were all also very losable. You know, so no, I'm not shocked. I'm not surprised. It's just kind of what I expected. Not expected. I knew it was possible. Let's put it that way. You know,
found a new way to lose this week. Have an unstoppable offense, but hey, just turn it over 5 times.
That makes it hard. Yeah. That'll make it hard. That will definitely make it hard. But and I mean, I was talking. So I got to go to the game today with a good friend of mine, JD Duran from the In Session Film Podcast, which, by the way, if you guys like movies out there, I highly, highly recommend their podcast. I get to guest over there like once a year or something with them. It's a lot of fun. But he's a big Lions fan, so we were there hanging out, and I said to him, I don't know what I said to him. What did I say to him? I don't know. This game's got me. Hey, listen, guys. If I seem a little off tonight, you might be able to hear it in my voice. Maybe not. I'm not sure. I feel like I'm losing my voice right now, and I was a little under the weather like last week. I feel okay. It's just I don't know if just the change in weather or just being out at the game or whatever, but. I also have a couple of shows this week. I'm heading to Puerto Rico to assist with some hurricane relief stuff, and we're going to have a couple of shows down there that I'll be performing in. So, I'm trying to tend my voice a little bit, but if I seem a little off, that's really what it is. With that, actually, let me take this opportunity as I'm talking. Javier in the chat room says that I sound deflated. Javier, thank you for telling me that, and it's not that I'm deflated. It's my voice is deflated. That's all it really is. But I want to give a shout-out to Javier and all of the people who have joined us in the chat room. It is a large group tonight. Usually it starts off a little bit small and it grows over the course of the show. It's quite a large group right here at the beginning of the show, Ren. Welcome.
And they've been going at it for about an hour.
They have. They have been in. Kevin says that I sound sad. I'm not sad. It's just my voice. So if I sound off tonight, I try not to sound monotone or anything like that, but that might just be me just tonight. So with that, Ren, I think you're going to maybe carry some of this conversation for us tonight.
Copy that, Captain.
Just to help us out. But, hey, listen, before we open up the phone lines, and we'll do that, all of you guys listening in the chat room, we'll open up the phone lines in just a few minutes. Actually, the phone line is not open right now. It is muted. So if you tried calling, I wouldn't even hear it. But I want to tell you guys an experience that I got to have today. And there's a special message for Bucs fans that you may or may not want to hear. You may or may not believe it. I'm not really sure. After the game, I got to go down onto the field, which would have been much better had we won. I've got to be honest with you. The excitement level would have been there, but still, as a Bucs fan, just being on the field is a really cool experience. Getting to see the stadium from that viewpoint, and we were taking a big group photo with some. Is
the field plushy? Is it springy?
No, it's grass. It is. Go in your backyard.
I know it's grass.
No. I mean, like, well, I don't know what your backyard's like, but like
exactly,
just in my backyard. That's what it feels like. Is the grass in my backyard? So,
must live in a ritzy neighborhood.
No, it's a lot harder than I thought it would be. It really is. But anyway, Brian Ford was down there. He's the COO of the Buccaneers, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the chief operating officer. And if you guys went out to training camp, you might have seen him out there. He's usually out, saying, "Hey guys, thanks for being fans." Or I've heard like he shows up at tailgates sometimes and gets to talk to the fans. But I got to have a conversation with him a little bit afterwards, and I asked him. I introduced himself. I introduced the PewterCast to him, and we got to talk for a few minutes. But I asked him. I said, "Brian, I've got a show tonight. I'm going to be talking to my fellow fans, and they're going to be calling in." And I said, "Brian, if you had a message for the fans, what would you want to say?" And here's what he said. He said, "Tell the fans to stay faithful, just to stay the course with us." He says, I know, and I'm fully aware that this has been a very disappointing season, and this is not at all what we planned. But he said, stay with us. He's like, believe me, I know you guys can't see it, but we are working as hard as we can. And he said, it's all that we talk about in the building of how do we bring another championship back to Tampa Bay. He says, that is our focus. He said, everybody from the Glazers to the front office staff to everybody, like that's our one focus is how do we bring a championship back to Tampa Bay. So I found that really encouraging with that, because it got me thinking about something that I got to say earlier this week, and I kind of like the first form of it I put out on social media, and then I wrote a little bit about this later, and I was thinking about it. I don't know if you guys heard the story that came out of Green Bay from our friend Derek Fournier over at What the Buck, and having to deal with an experience that they had with the players when they went up to Green Bay, where they just kind of happened upon the players getting off the bus heading into the stadium, and they were just completely snubbed by the players. And some of the super fans, people that we know, people that even the players know, like felt kind of deflated after that. And it really got me thinking, like, listen, coaching staff being what it is, these players being what it is, listen, these guys are going to come and go. Ren, you and I have said this phrase a lot on this show, and I think it's really telling. The people in the media, they get to know these players. They don't care so much about the team. They start caring about the name on the back of the jersey. Right. But as fans, we really care about the name on the front of the jersey. And what brings us together as fans, like what brought us together, what brought you and I together, Ren, what brings us and the 19 people that we have in the chat room right now together is our shared fandom of the Buccaneers, not of Dirk Cutter, not of Jameis Winston, not of Jason Light, we don't have a shared fandom of these individuals. It's our shared fandom of the Buccaneers. And there's going to come a day when these people are no longer with our organization. But you know what? We're still going to be here. Like, we as fans are still going to be here. We're going to be faithful. I don't want to say we're going to be. We will be fans long after these people are no longer a part of our organization. So, if I could give any kind of an encouragement to the fans and to people out there, I would say, listen, regardless of what you think of the current iteration of the Buccaneers, remember, we are still fans of the Bucs, and for whatever it's worth, looking in Brian Ford's eyes, I believe him when he says that their singular focus is how do they bring another championship back to Tampa Bay. I believe that that's really what they're talking about there, that's really what they're going after. So just a message from him to you guys as fans out there. Wanted to pass that along. And Ren, with that, I guess why don't we talk a little bit about the game and how things are going?
Well, I want to comment on.
Well, sure, go ahead. Yeah, sure, go ahead.
That really goes a long way for fans. There was sort of a small group of Buck Twitter that were sort of asking for Jason Light to kind of step out into the spotlight. Like, hey, we need sort of a rudder here. Like, come out and tell us that, yes, it's been disappointing. Tell us it's going to be okay. Uh-huh. And, you with your tenacity and friendliness got it for us through Brian Ford. And I think that's all a lot of people need. It's like, mm-hmm. You need the organization to basically let you know that your feelings are okay. Like, yes, mm-hmm. we understand that it's a disappointing season, but we're working hard and to change that. And when you hear that, you feel better because it feels like that you and the organization are sort of on the same page. When you get nothing, sort of out of like the home bunker, so to speak, and you feel like you're out here adrift all by yourself with your frustrations, it can get lonely. So kudos to you and kudos to Brian Ford for, at least he didn't give you the hype line,
Right.
I really liked how he recognized that this has been a very big disappointment, and that was huge for me. For it.
Yeah, that was huge for me. And hearing him say, again, I wish I could convey the look in his face when he was telling me this. And it was very honest, and it was very direct with what he was saying. It wasn't the coaches speak or the players speak that we often talk about. So,
right,
yeah.
So the game.
Let's talk about the game. Where do you want to start? And hey, I guess with that, actually, Ren, if you don't, do you want me to open the phone line? I'll kind of let you drive this one. Do you want to open the phone line now, or do you want to talk first?
Open the phone line.
Great. So guys, the phone line is open. If you want to call in, we'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. We'll be here for the next 50 minutes or so remaining in this hour, or we'll go longer if you guys keep calling in. You guys can call in. The number is 864-729-BUCS. That's 864-729-2827. We will take your call. We're talking about the game. Just a reminder, this is a PG-13 show, so try to keep your conversation that, but we don't edit the show. Ren, right away, let's see who we got here. You are on with Brent and Ren. Sounds like somebody was waiting on us to open up those phone lines. Who do we got here with us tonight?
It's me, Javier in Panama City, Panama.
Javier, how are you, buddy? How you feeling?
I'm actually feeling okay, but I thought at this point we're better off just talking about the weather, about movies, or something other than this team, man.
You mean like milking cows and berries and things like that?
Yeah, figuring out human evolution. How do we figure out these berries were poisonous and these berries were safe for consumption?
I think evolution is what figured it out for us there, Javier.
At this point of the season, I've gone through all the ranges in emotions. We get the first week excitement, then it turned into fear, then it fell to anger, rage, deception, panic. Right now, I'm just like, meh. We get a big play. I'm like, meh. We score, meh. We lose, meh. We win, meh. At this point, I just don't want any serious injuries right now, and maybe just like 1 or 2 wins. I don't know, but I'll be honest. I fell asleep watching this game. I didn't watch the second and third quarter because I was deep asleep. I was not having fun watching this game. But I was talking to Chef Aaron throughout the game on Facebook, because that's like our own chat room, and boy, we had more fun on that than watching this game. Just what can we say? We lost. It was a close game, but it felt like we weren't close at all. I don't know. I don't know. Was it just me, or was Holly sick again? Because he wasn't in the inactives, but he wasn't starting.
Holly dressed. No. He dressed. He was in uniform on the sideline. I can tell you that.
Yeah, Holly dressed. They just decided to go with the same starting 5 they went with last week, which was a little puzzling. But the pass protection held up a lot better, and maybe the only thing I can think of is that they liked what they did in run blocking. And it came through again today. I believe it was like around 130 or just a little over 130 rushing yards from scrimmage today. So they did a good job there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I think our weakest link clearly was Benedict. And I would have preferred to switch it up and gone like Donovan Smith, Evan Smith, Holly, Sweezy, and then Pamphile at right tackle.
You won't get an argument from us.
We heard all throughout the offseason that Pamphile was our backup right tackle. So that sounded like a little bit more of a stronger offensive line. But like you said, we rush pretty well. And by the way, speaking about the rushing game, I don't know. I've not been a fan of Martin this entire season, and to me, this is like the ultimate game against Doug Martin. Same offensive line, same opponent, Doug Martin gets 10 carries, 26 yards. He gets a touchdown, but he fumbles. Then he's benched, and then there's like a shot of him sitting on the bench, like with this mean face. Like, bro, your production has been awful this season and the last season. It's time for us to see more Peyton Barber. He's clearly going to be here next season. Martin's not going to be here. He's 29. He has a $7 million not guaranteed contract. I think we should move on from him, and let's see more of Peyton Barber. We saw a lot of more Chris Sims running through the middle. And obviously, every time Chris Sims is out there on the edge, it's going to be like a screen to try to get a first down. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Nick,
if you're a Doug Martin fan, this was not a good game. If you're in the pro Martin camp over Peyton Barber, this was not the game for you. I'll tell you what I noticed was, if you're in the Martin camp, you felt a lot like when Doug would get the ball, there'd be a guy sort of in his face as soon as he got it. And that's what, happened a lot of times when it would be like the loss of 3 yards, loss of 4 yards. And it's hard to blame that on the running back. But when Barber got the ball and that happened, he would make a jump step and get away from the guy. And not only would he not get a negative play, he would turn it into 3+ yards. So I think with this with this particular 5 up there, I think Peyton Barber's running style fits better with the way the blocking is in front of him, for sure. And with Doug Martin's salary, you don't want to talk about, but in his up and down career as far as production, this will be 2 years in a row with disappointing production. As far as him getting benched after the fumble, I think that was it just happened to be a coincidence that it was the end of the half and Barber was going to get his touches in the second half and then sort of ride the hot hand for the fourth quarter, whoever was doing better. But, so Barber got the hot hand and he never came off. But there has been lots of social media that, last time we've seen Doug Martin in a Bucs uniform or as a starter, and it'd be hard to argue. But we'll see going forward. But past 2 weeks, Peyton Barber is definitely if you go by production, earning more playing time, which a lot of us feel you should, Barber, I don't think anybody would be disappointed to see him get the start next week.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I was listening to a little bit of Coach Cutter's post-game press conference on the radio as I was driving out of town today, and I forget the exact question they asked him, but he kind of intimated it. He didn't come out and directly say it, but he really it seemed to me like he was intimating that the plan for today's game was start Doug in the first half, start Peyton in the second half. Like, they went in with that being the plan. And you know what? I'll be honest with you. I'm okay with that being the plan for today's game. And right. I'll tell you why. Now, whoever's calling in, call back in just a few minutes. Because I want to talk to you. But I'm okay with that because going into last week's game, Ren, you and I have said this whole season, Doug Martin is still the best back on this whole team. And the most talented back, whatever we say, we've kind of banged I don't want to say we banged the Doug Martin drum, but, looking at the film, looking at where we are, to be honest, neither Jacquizz Rodgers or Peyton Barber, for the limited touches they got up until these last couple of weeks, have had, super games. They've not really outshone anyone. But lately, you've heard me say, like I said, listen, the running back struggles to me are like 55% on the offensive line, 45% on the running back. Like there's a lot of shared issues there. I've said that in recent weeks. Doug Martin goes down, he gets hurt, and Peyton Barber comes in last week and does great. And Ren, you and I said one game does not change your depth chart.
No, yeah,
but we also said exactly, and especially and to take Cutter his words from his press conferences. Listen, don't forget, Doug Martin really just a year and a half ago had a really amazing season. He's looked great in the preseason this year, and we don't take starters out of their spot due to injury. So to come back for this game and say we're going to give the starter his start for the first half. And we're going to try out this guy who seemed to flash for us last week and see if he still has it outside of this one-game anomaly. And I think what we saw today was Doug Martin, and I'm okay riding this. I'm okay getting on this bandwagon. I think Doug Martin, I don't know if he's just plateaued. I don't know what his deal is, but I'm okay seeing his role on the depth chart now reduced and Peyton Barber's because we've proved it in a game. And Javier, to your point, same game, same defense, same offensive line, and Peyton Barber ran
same
better.
Benchmarks.
Yeah,
Same benchmarks, completely different results.
Right. So, to me, this was a test of a game. So to start Doug on one side and start Peyton in the other and see what happened, I'm okay with seeing that for this game. These are the games where we need to try this kind of stuff out, right? It's not like we're going to the playoffs, right? So, especially after today's game. But I'm okay with that. But hey, Javier, I'm going to go ahead and clear this call and invite the other. Oh, go ahead.
One last thing. I don't know next week, Monday night. I don't know if I'm more interested in watching the game itself or seeing the circus that's going to come during halftime. I'm not sure. I'm not sure of that, but man, we've put ourselves in this position, and this is a position I really didn't want to be. With our former head coach, we're embracing the past, but we're like hoping for something in the future.
Our past might be our future.
That's not the answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's it for me, guys. I'll keep listening and talking in the chat room.
Thanks, Javier.
All right, buddy.
All right. Hey, listen, if you were trying to call in just a few minutes ago, the phone line is open. Or if you're somebody else who wasn't trying to call in, you want to call in before that other guy gets to, you can do that too. The number is 864-729-BUCS. That's 864-729-2827. Ren, while we wait on the next call, where you want to go, buddy?
Well, I hope Javier's booked his travel because you're not going to be able to. They're not going to show the halftime ceremony on TV. They'll have maybe a little 10-second clip of it, like, hey, this is what happened while we were away. Coach, our own Monday Night Football coach Gruden got honored at halftime, but they're not going to show the whole ceremony.
Right. Now, one thing you could do is follow Ren and Brent on social media because we'll be there, and we'll sure be talking about it as it goes there. You are on with Brent and Ren for the InstantCast. Who do we got here tonight?
It's Craig in Vegas. What's up, guys?
Craig in Vegas. How are you, buddy?
I'm pissed after today. I don't know why this loss today is more aggravating than the other ones, but I guess it all boiled over today. Listen, when you started Doug Martin today, I'm sorry. You're a 4-8 club. You had a guy go for 100 yards last week, tote the rock, pass protect, do everything you're supposed to do that a starter does. I'm sorry. Doug Martin, his days were done. He should have never even you can argue he should have maybe never be on this roster this season at the $7 million cap that he's at right now.
Hindsight's 2020.
Yeah, but he didn't show much last. It is to me. I just thought, you know what, enough's enough. You know what, you're going to see what you have for the future, and it should have been Barber. I don't know. I thought to me that was Dirk saying, I don't want to be here. There was some talk on some post-game shows that Jameis isn't the guy or whatever it is, and I'm like, that's crazy. So people who don't think Jameis is the man, then you're not a Bucs fan. The guy's going to throw for 4,000 yards again. He's 23 years old. All right, you're going to have growing pains of that as well too. But if you look at some of the younger quarterbacks that are doing well now, whether it's in the Rams, the Eagles, some other things, they have the right coaching staff involved now to get those kids to the next level as well too. You don't have that here right now. The play calling towards the end of the game was horrendous. The 1st and 10 to run Charles Sims up the middle. I mean, yeah. Come on. Yeah. I mean, that's just saying, hey, listen, why don't you grab my pass of the building when I leave today as well too. And that's just an asinine play call. I'm sorry. That's twinkle toes up the middle. I'm sorry. That play call should never be done. All right, Barber's averaging 5 to 6 yards a carry second half. If in the last 3 minutes, he needs to be the workhorse to get to the field goal to win the game. All right, that was it. And the slant or the pass off to Tate and there's receivers to the linebackers with Mike Smith. Come on already. I mean, it's game where this is game 13. All right. This scheme is not working. You are getting absolutely your head handed to you, throwing. You can't get pressure. You know what? Blitz the house and put everybody in man defense. Blitz 7 and drop everybody and drop 4 in coverage and see what happens. I don't get what they're trying to do. I mean, they're not trying to save their jobs. They're just saying, hey, listen, I'm done. I mean, watch Dirk's press conference, and you listen to his call-in or question show on Friday. It sounds like the guy just doesn't want to be here anymore. Or, this was his first head coaching job in the NFL. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, you know what, sometimes what you wish for, but what the reality is at the end, you're like, maybe this wasn't worth it. And, just today, I'm sorry, this coaching staff showed that they are inadequate to coaching this team today. I'm sorry. I know Jameis had some picks in as well, and he was at fault a little bit here and there as well too. But overall, this coaching staff is not bringing a game plan to win a game, because a real coach today would have wiped the Lions' face with that game. That team is awful. The Bucs had 5 turnovers and didn't lose to the last minute. And when they didn't turn the ball over, they could move it any time they wanted on the team. So just today, I don't know what it was, but it just frustrated me. Just the coaches, the play calling, and just everything just boiled over today.
Craig. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Ren.
I was just gonna, start from the beginning. I think the talk about Jameis, as you do, is ridiculous. I know you can't take away the 3 turnovers, but Jameis was on fire. Like, everything that he threw had a lot of mustard on it, and it was hitting guys square in the chest. He was zipping the ball 22, 25 yards down the field, and it was right on target. He was making some passes, small windows that a lot of quarterbacks won't even try, let alone make. So I thought Jameis had a very good game. Of course, you have to take away, and we can argue back and forth about whose fault the interceptions were and stuff like that. But once again, he gets sacked and he fumbles the ball, which appears to be a real big issue, a growing concern, at least for fans. As far as Doug Martin's concerned, I don't mind him starting. I think that is a coaching move where you show the veterans that you don't lose your job to injury. And they had the plan where Doug Martin starts the first half, Peyton Barber starts the second half. Mm-hmm. Now, once again, hindsight's 20/20. Barber ended up having a better game. You could argue, if you're pro Martin, that hey, Doug Martin wore down their defense for the first half, and Barber comes in with fresh legs. You could have that argument, but I think that's getting a little nitpicky. Now, I don't think. Honestly, I'm not with you as far as I think they want to get out of here. I think they're coaching. I don't want to say the best of their ability. They're coaching really hard. I don't think they're mailing it in at all. I thought it was a good game plan. I understand what you were saying when the Bucs had the ball with 4 minutes left and Charles Sims is in there, but you remember he just scored. He just got a first down the play before on a run up the middle. Mm-hmm. Now, doing Charles Sims back-to-back runs up the middle, yeah, that's a little iffy, but it's another surprise play. Then on the swing pass, he's trying to catch him in a blitz, and the ball gets tipped, and Charles Sims, it wobbles, and Charles Sims sort of drops it. The screen game had been lights out all game long. I don't think we had one even being close to negative play in the screen game all day. I think everything went for at least 6 yards. Most of them went for first downs, just like it did in the Green Bay game. So I don't think that's a terrible call. I mean, you put them all together, yeah, it was a terrible series. Well, things happen. If Sweezy would have blocked his guy, then Charles Sims wouldn't have had to try to fake out a guy 2 yards in the backfield. It was right in front of him. It's so I get it. I'm with you with Jameis. I understand why Doug Martin started. I just think that since the plays calls didn't work out when it was late in the fourth quarter, 4 minutes, we need to go down to kick the field goal to win, that that's why it was bad play calling. I think you can make an argument for every play call that you could follow the logic, and like they said in the press conference, it doesn't matter. It's execute. You watched Army Navy Saturday. Those guys don't play the ball at all. But
I'll argue on that. Listen, there were wide open. I think Evans was open on the seam. I think the tight ends were open on the seams as well too. Listen, you're 4-8. I know you're trying to catch him in a blitz with the screen as well too. But at that point, I want the ball thrown past the sticks. at least throw it past the sticks and see what happens. When they did go deep to Evans at one time, they got the PI as well too.
Right.
But they were open down the field as well too. I mean, I know OJ got popped that one time, he fumbled as well too. But the seam routes were all there to be had. Mm-hmm. They could have thrown deep on that team anytime they wanted to, and they just didn't do it. It's just the play not to lose or whatever. You're 4-8. Just, you know what? First play of the game, just chuck it down the field and see what happens. I mean, play like, you know, you're trying to entertain the fans on a home game as well too. But from an offensive play call, I just think you can open up a little bit more. Listen, you could see why that article is out there, because it is a tad predictable. I mean, if you and I can pick out some of the plays, I think the defense can as well too. But yeah, but if the O-line does their job, do I think we're in a better situation today? Yeah, I agree. But the defense, that game plan is just horrendous. You can't defend Mike Smith on that game plan.
Apparently the crossing route is, the kryptonite. That's been going on for 2 years. You run like a long crossing route on Mike Smith's defense, the guy's open. It's fact, carved in stone.
I cannot see Golden Tate again on Quan or Levante as well too. I mean, come on already.
One time Beckwith had him. I'm like, really?
Yeah. And how many times on 3rd and 10, 3rd and 12 was Ryan Smith backed up across the Gandy Bridge? I mean, come on. I mean, the one play you had Ryan Smith and Conti both burned on the same play. I mean, was it down the middle second quarter as well too? So, but that I just think as well too. Let me ask you guys 2 other things real quick. What do you guys think? Because I think the coaching staff is toast. I mean, you just can't defend it. And listen, when anybody finishes like this with the Glazers, whether it was Lovey or any of the other guys, they're done. And that's just what they do. Mm-hmm. What do you guys think about Jim Harbaugh? I mean, I think he would leave that Michigan job in a heartbeat to get back in the NFL. That's more his style game.
All right.
Or would you give also Josh McDaniel another look? I think he got a bad rap because of John Elway. But don't forget that guy took Tebow to the playoffs.
And won a playoff game. All right, I'm going to answer those off the air so we can free up the line. Appreciate it, Craig. Thanks for calling. Love the passion. Talk to you next week.
All right, Ren, what do you think? McDaniels, Harbaugh?
This is something I've always thought about. If I was a college coach and I was entrenched somewhere, mm-hmm. I would never leave. Like the Bobby Bowdens at Florida State, the Joe Paternos at Penn State, mm-hmm. Nick Saban at Alabama. There's no reason to leave. You get paid tons of money. You're not going to get fired because you're one of the best coaches there. I'm not Jim Harbaugh. I don't know if he wants to come back coach the NFL. If it was me and I was considered a top 10 college coach, I would never leave. You have a job for life. Mm-hmm. And you're doing what you love, and you don't have to put up with a lot of the things that go along with the NFL as a head coach. There's very rare NFL coaches that don't get fired. Mm-hmm. You're pretty much on borrowed time when you start it. I know Josh McDaniels is a big name going around sort of social media right now. A lot of the fans are talking about him wanting to if Cutter gets fired, the Bucs decide to move on, the Glazers decide to move on, that a lot of people are sort of pushing the Josh McDaniels narrative. I don't think it's a terrible idea, but to be honest, I haven't done enough research on Josh McDaniels to say, yes, this is definitely the guy. Mm-hmm. I can't answer that, but I'm not against it. I don't think it's a dumb idea.
Yeah. As far as Josh McDaniels goes, listen, he comes from a winning system. He comes from a winning culture. And in principle, I can't speak to him specifically, but in principle, bringing in people who come from that sort of a background is usually a good idea. So, like I said, I can't speak to him specifically. Now, I did want to respond to something that Craig was saying, and I just found this interesting. It's a little gossipy, but I just found it interesting. In talking about Cutter and predictable defense, Jenna Lane had a tweet earlier today where she said that she was speaking with the defensive coaching staff of another team that we played this year, and they said that Cutter's offense is by far the most predictable offense that they have studied and played all year long. So, the predictability of his offense is a phrase that we keep hearing that comes around and around and around again. In fact, that if you guys heard that report from Ian Rappaport earlier today, saying that there's a rift between Jameis and Cutter, at one of the points of the rift is that the offensive play calling is just too predictable. Now, Ren, we can talk about that if you want to, but why don't we take this call here and see what they got up? You are on with Brent and Ren for the InstantCast. Who do we got here tonight with us?
Brent and Ren, it's Kevin. What's going on, guys?
What's up, Kevin? How are you, buddy?
Good. I'm doing good. Well, what can we say? Another Sunday watching football with our favorite team, and guess what? Another loss. What can you say?
I guess, they discovered a new way to not to win a ball game. Once we get all those covered, maybe we can
hold my beer. I'm going to use that pun, hold my beer.
Hold my beer, exactly, yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's true.
So
before we go on, Kevin, I'm gonna bring up a little sore subject. Did you see that Army-Navy game?
Yes, I did, and unfortunately, my poor, just decorated guys of Navy did lose to Army, so I got to give Army their due. They won the Commander-in-Chief trophy, so it's okay. I think my Navy team will be back next year.
All right. Just wanted to get that out of the way. Go ahead, buddy. What's on your mind?
No, it's all good. Hey, we're all one family, so guess what? Even though they won, I'll take it in stride. But besides that, oh my God, it amazes me. And I listen to all the guys calling in and reading the notes here on Mixler, and just like, how in the hell do you give a guy 380 yards with no sacks allowed on a busted hand? How? It just, words don't describe how shitty this defense is played. It just amazes me.
Yeah, it's, that's the big mystery. It seems to be, the line that Mike Smith uses every, Wednesday press conference. Well, if I knew, I'd fix it. Like, it's my fault. It's a bad called game. But he's been coaching for 28 years and been NFL Coach of the Year for twice, and his previous defensive coordinator positions.
Yeah, he was the PewterCast Coach of the Year award winner for the Mini Lombardi last year.
Yeah, I mean,
But
But you can't beat a slant route. I don't get that.
Slant routes. That was Lovey's kryptonite.
Let me just say this: I have a feeling that in the PewterCast Awards show this year, Mike Smith will not be repeating as Coach of the Year. Just a guess.
God, who will? Or who
Duffner is the only one.
If you think about it, like, who do you give it to?
The special teams coordinator. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Yeah,
that'll be interesting.
The special teams coach is going to probably win by default because of anger and having Pat Murray as his aces right now on the special teams.
Yeah.
Oh, man, it's just, like you said, like you guys, I don't get it with Mike Smith. And we can pretty much know that he's probably pretty much the scapegoat after the season. I don't see him staying on an incapacity. I can see him and pretty much his whole defensive staff is gone because you have Levante David playing out of his mind, but you got guys who can't even get a small pass rush or even a touch on Matt Stafford with the busted hand. That clearly just shows you right there that obviously you either don't have the talent or obviously coaching him without his brain and it's gone. Or he just cannot coach against these new coaches or little wrinkles that they're adding on now.
Right. I mean, I know we've been sort of banging on the defense because of the crossing route and Golden Tate, but Golden Tate does that to everybody, which isn't shocking. It's not an excuse. But
agreed, he's a fantasy
I think the defense should get sort of a little pat on the back for keeping at least the offense in it, the team in it. 5 turnovers, you get 5 sudden changes, and the team only scores 24 points, and the last 3 coming as time was winding down, just about. But what fans are going to look at is that it was a tie game, and the Bucs needed the ball back, and the defense, didn't come through once again. Which is
they said hold my beer. We're gonna watch them go right down the field just like Green Bay last week.
Yeah, I mean, don't forget the defense created. Our defense created how many turnovers themselves though?
I think it was 5 each, right? I think it was five on each side.
Maybe it was at least 3. It might have been 4.
I know it was 3 in the first half. I don't think Detroit turned it over in the second half.
Might be 5. I'm not sure, but we'll find that out and probably talk about it on the Final Thought show later this week. But yeah, I mean, give the defense its due. They have earned their criticism. Don't mistake what I'm saying here. They have earned their criticism. But as Ren said, they kept the game close.
Agreed. They did. Yeah. We could have been blown out with 5 turnovers.
The Lions certainly shot themselves in the foot a few times too. I did I tweet this out? Somebody in my timeline go look. I know I definitely wrote it down and I said it to a couple people around me. This team or this game was going to be decided by who sucks a little bit less than the other one. That's exactly what happened.
Both teams were pulling strong off because the Lions is just as bad as we are, and they're fighting for their playoff life. And who agreed? Who played hungrier? I don't think no team played hungry. I think both teams just played to kind of a default until one team said, "Oh, we can't have enough time on the ball to score." And guess what? The Lions had the ball last.
Well, you heard Javier. He fell asleep watching the game. This was not good football that we watched today from either side.
I painfully watched it, and I just sat there and was just looking. I tried to find some kind of positive out of a negative. Even though Jameis did have his turnovers and things like that, he did have a little bit of zip on the ball, and he played adequately. He's not playing at his all pro level. He's just playing as a third-year quarterback, still trying to learn his craft. But compared to Carson Wentz and Jared Goff, they're trying to think that these guys are clear and beyond better than Winston. And I just don't know. I think Winston's a very solid quarterback. I just think that he probably needs proper coaching around him this time. He's been working with Dirk for going about 3 seasons now, and you just see the constant, pick and choose, and kind of seem like Dirk is maybe holding Jameis back, because I actually saw Jameis run for a first down today. When is the last time he's actually done that? Has it been, 9, 10 games maybe since he's last done that before? It seemed like Dirk is trying to make him stay in the pocket, and with these 3 to 7 step drops, I think with this particular, makeshift O-line, it doesn't fit. You got to keep it short with Jameis. Come 3-step drop, let the ball loose, because guess what? That line is not going to hold for those 7 seconds just to make a route come open.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or just throw the ball away.
I don't have a problem with what they're doing with Jameis. I don't want Jameis to run around a lot. Quarterbacks that run around a lot don't last long in the NFL. It's just the size, weight, the speed ratio.
Look at Mariota. Hurt his knee today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have to agree on that. Yeah, Mariota hurt his knee. Carson Wentz, I think, tore his ACL, tonight.
Right.
Yeah, he might.
That's the big news. They're saying that he might tore his ACL, so he's probably gone.
Hey, Kevin, I'm going to go ahead and clear this call so we can let some other people call in. But I have a comment on something that you were just saying there, so keep listening.
I got one quick question too before you guys let me go.
Sure.
Because you asked me this in the Twitter timeline earlier. You said that you wanted me to ask, honestly, after the season is over with, what is the overall evaluation of this team? Is it that us as fans want this team, the owners, to hire someone that cares about winning and that cares about the fans? Honestly, we know that Jason Light is a good, solid evaluator, right? And until he lost James Robinson, he was pretty good. And once he lost Robinson, he's been mediocre at best. So, you guys give me your thoughts and tell me what you think.
Cool. We'll do it. Thanks so much, Kev. Let me respond to what I was going to say to Kevin's comment, and then, Ren, I want to get to what Kevin had just asked us there.
Sure.
Ren, you and I have rolled around this question, it seems like for a couple of weeks now, of how long do we stay with Jameis?
Oh, yeah.
How long do we stay with him, and how long do we give him to get better? And I was thinking about it today, and I think my answer has come until he proves that until he proves that he's not improving. How do I say this? Here's the question that I have in my mind, and it's what Kevin was actually just getting to. is Jameis not improving because he's not being coached well? Has he? I don't know if he's tuned Cutter out. Cutter's reached his limit of development with Jameis. Maybe it's Bajakian. I don't know what it is, but if Cutter isn't getting through to Jameis and Jameis isn't improving under Cutter's tutelage, if we get rid of Cutter and we bring somebody else in to give Jameis tutelage, and Jameis still isn't improving, so if you have multiple people trying to help Jameis out with this and he's never improving and he's making the same mistakes after 3, 4, 5 years in the system, then, it's probably time to look at that whole situation with Jameis. But until then, the question in my mind right now is with the turnovers and, things like that, is it Jameis or is Cutter not getting through to him? That's the question that I'm now beginning to ask, myself.
Well, that's the $1 million question when it comes to Jameis Winston's development.
Right.
Especially when you keep seeing him not protect the ball in the pocket. Once again, do you make an argument about the Deshaun Jackson where he didn't come back for the ball and maybe at the least he could have broken it up. Mm-hmm. It's pretty obvious to me, at least on the replay, he didn't think the ball was coming to him. He bananaed his route on his cut, and Jameis threw the ball where maybe he thought he was supposed to be, and Deshaun just sort of gave on the play, and the cornerback didn't. Okay. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'm seeing it wrong, whatever. It's still an interception for Jameis. Then you can talk about the O.J. Howard bump and the guy that interfered with him, and maybe O.J. knocks it down or gets to it, but at the very least there should have been a penalty where that interception doesn't happen. Okay, mm-hmm. But it did. But this where people are draped around his waist and he's still looking down the field trying to fire the ball instead of taking care of it, this is becoming a serious problem for me. Mm-hmm. And you can't – there's no one on the face of the earth who can look at me and convince me that Dirk Cutter hasn't had multiple conversations with him about that.
Right.
I mean, they have to have it every week because it happens every week.
Right.
Well, not true, but, it feels like it happens every week. So, but getting back to your original question, at one point, someone has to say, look, I've taught him all I could teach him, mm-hmm. Shaquille O'Neal came out of college as like a sophomore or a junior because there's nothing more he could do in the NCAA because there's no more I can teach you at this level. Go on to the next. Now, Is there something that's going to happen? But we don't know. Mm-hmm. There's no way for us to know, and that's going to have to be an internal decision. Does sometimes a new voice help? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Does a new voice guarantee improvement? No. Mm-hmm. And we have no information or no data to go on that Jameis is not improving because of Cutter. And I don't even think that's true. I think Jameis is improving. I really do.
Yeah, and let's get back to this conversation on the other side of this phone call. But for right now, you are on with the InstantCast with Brent and Ren. Who do we got here tonight?
It's Chef Aaron, guys. How you doing tonight?
Hey, Chef.
What's up, Chef? How are you, buddy?
I'm about as good as I was going to be. I mean, I figured this game was going to be one of those, like I like to call it, the Buccaneer way, where they're going to find a way to lose, and they definitely didn't disappoint.
Yeah, well, that's a good way to look at it. If you're a Bucs fan and have been for 41 years, and you go in thinking they're going to lose, they tend not to disappoint.
Yeah, it's just coming to the point where I'm done with this coaching staff. I've been Dirk's one of his biggest supporters all year long, but and people will not put stock into Ian Rappaport's thing of he was talking about the dissension between Cutter and Jameis, but usually when anything that comes from Ian, that is almost concrete to go by. So. Yeah, and what you just said before I got on of you think Jameis has improved. I mean, in certain ways he has, but it seems like he's regressed in this offense a lot under the scheme under Dirk's guidance from what I've seen.
How?
Well, the offense still can't get going. It's the same crap we keep seeing.
The offense have been unstoppable the past 2 weeks.
Except for the red zone.
How was that? If we can't get... This was like maybe the 1 week where we got into the end zone off of Jameis's arm.
Well, I'm pretty sure... Chef, now, for anyone listening, like Chef and I, we go way back. We have a relationship. So I know I can go hard at Chef and we can have this civil conversation. I don't think so. I think that Jameis come back. He's taken the check downs a lot more. I don't think he's being greedy. You can see him eat the ball a few times when normally he wouldn't. And like I said about those 2 interceptions, yeah, they're Jameis's fault, but you can make an argument they're not. I'm not taking them away. I'm
not saying that those interceptions were Jameis's fault. I mean that one dude, Q, likes to say that Jameis didn't put enough air on the ball. From what I saw, Deshaun Jackson didn't even try to get back. It looked like he loafed on the play. And that O.J. Howard one, he was held. So it's like, how are you going to put that on Jameis as well?
Okay, so what are you seeing that you think Jameis has regressed? Regressed from? Are we talking about regress from the beginning of the season? Are we talking regressing from the end of last year?
I would just say like throughout the whole entire season, it seems like because this offense, the first half, what was it, 8 straight games? I don't remember them scoring a single touchdown, like when Jameis is in and with it being in Cutter's system. Other than, I will agree with you that when it comes to Fitzpatrick, but him being behind Fitzpatrick was a good deal because, yeah, you see him taking the check downs, going with what the defense is giving him. I'm not disagreeing with that at all.
Okay, I'm just having a little hard time understanding. Like, I understand the frustration. I know you're a passionate fan. I get it. I think we can have this conversation a lot better, sitting next to each other at a bar having a beer. But this is a call-in show. So what I just don't see what Jameis is doing in this offense that he's not doing better than he was last year or even at the beginning of the year. Now, the beginning of the year for me is the games through the Buffalo game. I'm including the first half of the Cardinals game, but I think the Buffalo game, he played very well. But after that, I thought the pain in his shoulder, he didn't have the strength in it to be able to push the ball down the field. So those few games after the Buffalo game till he finally got sat, I don't count those. I know it's a little unfair, but he was playing injured. So from the first couple of games to these past 2 weeks, besides the turnovers, which his interceptions are down this year. I know he got 2 today, but he was only at 9.
And Mariota has 14 for all those Mariota lovers out there.
Right. Well, no one cares about Marcus Mariota.
Riley Almond loves Marcus
lots
Mariota.
of back and forth about Mariota, who's better, Mariota, Winston. So now he's got 11, but he consistently moved the offense since he's been back. And I thought, remember that catch that O.J. Howard dropped, and it was like in between 4 Lion defenders. It almost got intercepted.
Was that this game or was that last game?
No, today. Like, he threw it. O.J. Howard jumped, went off O.J. Howard's hands, went off the safety's hands, and then the linebacker Davis almost picked it off, and he dropped it. There was like 5 – okay, that might be a little stretch. There was 4 Lions around him, and Jameis had to drop that in a bucket from like 35 yards away, and he did. Like, it was O.J. Howard just dropped it. Like, he knew he was going to get hit, which we can need to talk about because Chris Godwin is fantastic at catching balls that are contested with guys around him. O.J. Howard, not so much. But that's for another call. I just don't understand why you think Jameis Winston, I know we keep going round and round, has regressed because I just tell me why? Like, he moves the ball. What is he doing besides not taking care of the ball in the pocket that you think he's regressed?
Well, Ryan, I'll just put it to you this way. In my mind, maybe this is the way to put it. The offense as a whole, in my mind, has regressed with Jameis being a part of it. I mean, I don't know if you listened to the Peter Plank or whatever, but I believe it was David who was talking to Trevor Sikkema. he was like detailing like every single year that Dirk Cutter has like been a play caller or whatever for a team. Every single year, the offense keeps regressing. It's like it's a never-ending pattern, and it seems like we're experiencing that in Tampa Bay right now.
I can understand. Possibly the offense has regressed. I'd have to look at some numbers. I think it's sort of on par that it was last year as far as like scoring points and where they are as far as passing and rushing. They're probably at the same spot. But with the hype and with, the feeling that we're going to have with getting Deshaun Jackson and bringing in O.J. Howard, Doug Martin, is going to come back and he's going to be fresh legs, and another year for Jameis and Mike Evans. Like, yes, the expectations were high. I remember, we were talking to social media like, oh, this is, we're going to average 31 points a game. Like, no problem. Like, you can't stop all these weapons. How are you going to do that? And it hasn't happened. I understand the fans' disappointment, but equating that to saying that Jameis has regressed, I just don't see it. If you think he didn't take care of the ball as a rookie in his second year, and you don't think he takes care of the ball now, that's not regression. It's the same.
Well, like I said, it's just I feel like it's Jameis in this offense. I'm not saying Jameis as like a quarterback has regressed. I'm saying in this offense, because the whole offense in my mind it looks like it has regressed, especially when you go 8 straight games with the first half you getting a field goal as like points, and that's it. Like it's kind of like what you were saying like last week. It seems like other than this game, that the offense seemed like they were allergic with to like finishing the drive with inside the 10. This game, we finally saw them like finishing drives with inside the 10 with Doug Martin's one with his touchdown, and then with O.J. Howard catching his touchdown. And I don't know who out there said that O.J. Howard is a bust, but seriously, if you're gonna go off of like one fumble, get your head checked.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I think that's his second fumble, but whatever. Yeah.
Well, the fumble was game.
All right, Chef. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do some research, and then when depends on what time and when I can do it. It's either going to be on Wednesday shows or the Buck in the News, and I'm going to compare Dirk Cutter's offense from yardage and everything through 13 games? No. Yes, 13 games. And 13 games last year, and we'll see where we're at. I think the only thing we've regressed in is wins. I really do. I get it. I'm looking here in the chat room, and someone is really not agreeing with me. Q Dog, you're welcome to call in. But I just don't see this huge regression. I don't. I mean, he's never really been to a pinnacle where he can regress. I don't understand. But you know what? Maybe someone can call in and tell me, or I'll loop this research like Chef suggesting that, the offense as a whole has regressed, and we'll see. And if we go with that, then you can make an argument about how many, different reasons why the offense has regressed. But I'm still behind Jameis. I get your point, Chef. I'm
still high on Jameis too.
What's that?
I'm still high on Jameis too. I don't think that he's this bust that so many, like this Q guy, or I think his name is Nick from Memphis, whatever it is. Sorry, Nick, I don't mean any disrespect. I don't think that a lot of these fans are like Jameis hasn't shown that he's a bust. It's just this, and you're going to disagree. I know you will. I think this coaching staff is just it has just held this team back.
Okay. I want to ask you to give me an example, but I think you know what I'm going to do.
Well, that defensive play there, what was it, Riddick's touchdown run, where the defense just absolutely, it almost looked like they quit on that play.
Yeah. Kwon was definitely looking for the strip and not going after the tackle. Hey, listen, Chef, always good to talk to you. We're going to agree to disagree on this point, but I'm going to do some research, and we'll go at it a little later. Maybe we'll DM back and forth later tonight and give it some more. But as always, thanks for calling in. Your passion is loved. and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, Ren. Have a good one.
All right, buddy.
Thanks, Chef. Ren, I have a theory about the conversation we just heard between you and Chef.
What's that?
And it's why I love this podcast. It's why I love our fans. It's why I love us as hosts, and getting to interact with the fans. And you know, I think what Chef is expressing and what he is saying is actually why the InstantCast exists. Like, this is what it feels like. Especially in the midst of this losing, everything is magnified. It feels like these guys are regressing. It feels like this coaching staff is horrible, and it like this is what we're feeling. This is what fans are you know, the questions they're searching and asking themselves. But then you're on the other side of saying, and I'm kind of saying the same thing of like, listen, I know that's how it feels. But let's go to the tape. Let's look at the stats. Let's put this stuff in context of where we are for the entire year and see if what we're feeling is actually true. And to jump back to what Brian Ford told me earlier today, and I don't know that I mentioned this earlier, when he said, listen, everybody is focused on bringing another championship to Tampa Bay, Coach Carter was one of the people he named of saying, Coach is really focused on this goal. Like, that's the mantra that they have in the building of bring another championship back to Tampa. So, regardless if we think that Coach Cutter is the right person or not, or Mike Smith is the right person or not, they are at least trying to bring the championship back. And there is a point to, we need to look at the tape. We need to look at the stats, put all of those things in context. You can't look at, it doesn't do us good to look at that outside of what's actually happening with the team. And at the same time, we can also still acknowledge, like, man, this really sucks. And this feels like something is off, and so it's this,
something is off.
Something is definitely off, but is it that our quarterback play is regressing?
I don't think so.
You would say no, and honestly, I think the numbers will probably bear that out. I
think his decision making, as far as he goes with the ball, has been better this year. Especially since he's been back after he got to sit and watch Fitz. Takes with the defensive give. I thought his drop offs have been better this year. Hopefully, this is one of these guys in the chat room that have been going ham all over me.
Well, let's find that out. You are on the InstantCast with Brent and Ren. Who do we got here tonight?
Hey, Brent and Ren, this is Bucs Unreal.
Hey, what's good? Yeah, you've been in the chat room all night tonight, tearing it up too.
Where are you from, Bucs Unreal?
Oh, what's going on, Ren? You got me heated, brother. You got me heated.
All right, let's hear it. Make your case.
Well, sure. You're stating that Jameis Winston, he's not regressing, and you're not. For all the stats that you and other people are using, you're really glossing over the big stats, which are the ratios. I mean, if you look in the chat or if you just look on your research, I mean, this is a guy that is Jameis that we're talking about I think, what did I post up here? I think I said, if you do the math, he's, so he's, for the season, this season alone, he's 12, 6, and 10, 12 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and 10 fumbles. So he's 12 and 16 in the turnover ratio to touchdowns. I'm sorry, is that good?
He's got more than 6 interceptions. I'm not sure where you're getting your information. And I'm with you. And I'm with you with the fumbles. Like, that is now my biggest worry with Jameis Winston. I've said it on other podcasts. I'm not sure if you listen to us regularly, that I feel he has like this cone of blindness, like right behind his head. He said in today's presser. Right. Go ahead.
Right. But yeah, let me cut you off. So we both agree, and I think that something's wrong here, that he is not perhaps progressing the way that we would like him to see, or we would like him to be.
Now that is a true statement.
Okay, right. So, but we can't say, well, he's not progressing the way we want, but he's still good. Well, your argument was, the previous caller said well, he was really never that good to really regress. So we don't really know, how good he can be. He didn't hit that pinnacle yet.
Mm-hmm.
Well, holy hell. So does that mean, so he's always sucked?
I don't think he sucks now.
Nothing to base off of.
I just don't think he sucks now. When you're saying like regression, and I'm sort of speaking out of turn here, but I think if you put his stats and his ratio minus the games that after the Cardinals game until he got sat, because I'm not just going to count those because I think his shoulder was hurt and I think it really affected his numbers and his performance. I'll take his first 2 games and these 2 games and put them up against his best games in year 1 and year 2, and I don't think there'll be much of a difference. Now, I could be absolutely wrong, but I think it's more of people reacting to the dumb mistakes that we all want him to quit doing. And the dumb mistakes now have seemed to come about not of being loose with the football in the pocket. I think he's sort of got the interceptions under control. He had a bad game in Minnesota.
What?
Go ahead. What's that?
What? How does he have the interceptions out of control when his ratios are almost 2 to 1? How is that under control? How do you progress in decision making, or at least show that you are, when you're still doing the same crap you've done in year 1 or further back in your college days? I mean, is Jimbo Fisher not a good a coach? Could he not teach that to Jameis Winston? Is Dirk Cutter Tom Munson?
But what I'm saying is that
are they not good coaches? Why? I mean, he was making these same mistakes in college. So where does it take? Who is going to step back and say, you know what, this guy does have talent, but he is really prone. So at what point do we say, well, maybe he's just not that good? Because you can't have such a huge interception ratio and be considered good. I posted Brad Johnson's 2002 touchdown to interception ratio. It was 22 to 9.
And what year was that? What year was Brad Johnson? Year 11, year 12, Brad Johnson's career?
Sure. I mean, we can go back. I mean, if you want to say that, we can do Brett Favre. We can do Peyton Manning. We can do
I'm just saying that you posted Brad Johnson's interception to touchdown ratio, and I'm saying what? Is that year 3 Brad Johnson, or is that year like when he came to the Buccaneers when it's like he's like year 11, year 12, year 13 veteran into the league? Now, according to Buccaneers.com, and I don't think this has been updated, according to Buccaneers.com, Jameis Winston has 14 TDs and 8 interceptions. Mm-hmm. Did he throw? He threw 1 TD pass, 2 TD passes today. Mm-hmm. Is that 2? Yeah, 2.
Yeah.
And Barber, Martin ran 1 in, so that's 16 and 11.
No. That's today's. That's with today's. The numbers on Buccaneers.com include today's numbers.
So he's 14 and 8.
14 and 8.
Yeah. Hey, Bucs Unreal. So I just did the math. Like I'm looking at it right here. Just to the point, the numbers you're pulling out. Jameis's first year, he had 22 touchdowns to 15 interceptions. That's a 68% ratio. Okay. Sure. Last year, he had 28 touchdowns to 18 interception, which is a 64% ratio. This year, if we just take him this year, and Ren, I'm going to throw out what you said of not counting those certain games. I'm going to throw him in there and put him in there. He's only at 57%. And that's just so far. Now, we've still got 3 games to go. You know, those numbers are certainly going to change by the end of the year.
Are you adding the games that he didn't into that ratio?
These are the games that he played this year.
Okay.
For Jameis, and like every game that he's played, every touchdown and interception he's had this year, he's only at 50. Even his hurt games, he's only at 57% this year. So far, he has gotten better each year. This year.
And I would also argue that the interceptions he threw his first 2 years aren't the same type of interceptions he's throwing this year. They're not just
they're still bad decisions. Like, they're still interceptions. Good or bad, they're still interceptions.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I agree, but not all interceptions are bad decisions. all interceptions are bad.
Sure, it could be deflections. It could be,
not all interceptions are bad decisions.
Sure, I mean, yeah, absolutely. They could be deflections. They could be any numerous possibilities. So I think we can all, as fans, agree on something. That Jameis is wildly inconsistent with his decision making. I think we can all kind of agree on that. As evidenced today, instead of running out with the ball or throwing it away like Ryan Fitzpatrick, or we saw even Matthew Stanford did. He went to the sideline, threw the ball out of bounds. Live to fight another day. Jameis said, "No, I have to hit this home run right now," and he made a bad decision. So,
I'm not going to agree with you that it's he's wildly consistent with his decisions.
Sure.
Sure. But what I will say is that, and I'm not going to blame it on his age, but you're talking Matthew Stafford, year 9, 10 in the league, to Ryan Fitzpatrick. I think the question that we're both trying to get at, or at least you're trying to get to me, is how long until you have to look at Jameis Winston and say, this is the best he's going to be. Should we move on? And for me, talking to you, my answer is not yet. At least his rookie contract. At least. So I'm talking 5 years.
Option?
No, there is. They're going to pick up the option. They'll pick up the option.
Oh,
yeah. He's going to be a Buccaneer till either he gets hurt, he plays out a second contract, or he does something really stupid off the field. He will be the starting quarterback for the Buccaneers. I mean, for the next 10 years, roughly.
Right.
So for me, you got to wait till he plays that 5th year, and if he's still making these dumb decisions with crappy interception to pass ratio, and what's scaring me now a lot is the fumble being loose in the pocket with players around him, and it seems that almost every time he's getting hit, he's almost fumbling the ball. That's what I'm worried most about. Hey, I applaud you calling in. Thank you for coming in and making your point. I love the passion, and we're going to free up the line, and we're getting about to end the show here. But thanks again for calling. It was good to hear from you. Where are you from anyway? Where are you located? We always try to get new callers, like where they're from.
Sure, Tampa, man. Right next to you.
Tampa. All right, good. Hey, awesome. You know what? Maybe one day we'll belly up to the bar and we'll have this conversation for a couple hours.
Yeah, and
absolutely.
Hey, listen, Bucs Unreal. One thing you can do for us, if you'd like, if you want to put together your thoughts, pull your numbers together, shoot them to us in an email to the PewterCast@gmail.com. We always read those things on our final thought show later in the week. So,
sure.
If you want to put that together, shoot it to us in email. That gives you a chance to have your say with your numbers. And you can kind of craft it the way you want to, and then, that'll give us a chance to respond to it as well. So that's all. And please keep listening. Please call us back on a future show. Sound good?
Absolutely. Y'all have a great night. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
I love this show, Ren. I love the show. And that phone call right there, along with Chef's phone call earlier tonight, and Kevin's and everybody, Craig's, Javier, yeah, for sure. This is what I love about this show. It's us as fans getting to talk. A lot of us come at it from different angles, and we get to feel it out. Let's see what we got going on here. We said we'll keep taking the calls till they stop. So you are on the InstantCast with Brent and Ren. Who do we got here tonight?
What's up, guys? This is Brian from Memphis.
Brian from Memphis. There you are, buddy. All right, Brian.
What's up, Brian? How are you tonight?
I'm doing good. I saw the tweet when y'all was like, y'all think I'm getting warmed up for tonight's show.
Getting warm, Brian. Getting warm, buddy. I've been waiting on this call all day.
I mean, why was you waiting on it? Like, you just knew I was going to have something bad to say about Jameis?
It crossed my mind. I don't like to throw it out there that I can see into the future or be able to tell someone else what they're going to do. But he definitely deserves some of it today, don't you think?
I mean, of course. I mean, but like I said, if y'all guys were already premeditating this, like y'all yeah, it's known there's some kind of guilt behind, the way he plays. And, like, the thing is, like, Ren, like, first off, like, let me just go ahead and get it going. I know y'all guys getting ready to wrap up. But, Ren, first off, when I listen to, like, Buccaneers News, when you say on the Buccaneers News, hey, you personally would give him 10 years, before you feel like, okay, either we, keep him or leave him. Like, let's be fair, Ren.
No. I would say that I've said he's going to be a Buccaneer for at least 10 years. If they're going to pick up his fifth-year option, and if he doesn't get hurt, or doesn't do something off the field to get himself in big trouble, that he's going to be the Buccaneers quarterback for the next 10 years. Now, I say when like I was talking to the last caller, after year 5, that's when you can have a fair evaluation and put all his sample size together and decide, like, hey, we're moving forward with Jameis, or no, this is not working out. We need to start looking somewhere else.
Okay, with that being said, do you think, like, we should bring in, like, competition for him? Because you went on record and said Ryan Griffin was the better quarterback in preseason. Like, is that just based off his talent, or since we got Winston number 1, we have to stick with him, we have to play him? Like, as a fan, like, I don't care what the name is on the back of the jersey. I want the best 11 guys on the field. Like, so you saying you might, if in some situations you think Ryan Griffin will come in and do better than Jameis, would you start Ryan Griffin over Jameis?
That's a complex question. Now, what I did say was that when I went to all the training camps, all the ones that are open to the public, I went to. I watched them, sat in the stands, talked to all the beat reporters. It was a great time. Loved it. Best month of my life. That's not true, but it was pretty close. That if you're going off pure talent, who placed the ball better, had the most completions, and including understanding the offense, Ryan Griffin outplayed Jameis Winston and really outplayed Ryan Fitzpatrick. Now, we've never seen Ryan Griffin with the ones. It was something I was very excited to see during the preseason. Mm-hmm. We thought that we were going to see that right away, but the Bucs went and signed Ryan Fitzpatrick, so that sort of bumped him down a little bit more, and then he got injured, and I believe game 2 it was, hurt his shoulder. We haven't seen him since. Now, if Ryan Griffin comes in and has let's say Jameis twists his ankle next week, and Ryan, we'll see. He's inactive. Some scenario works out that Ryan Griffin comes in and wins the last 2 games of the year for the Buccaneers. Do I think that Ryan Griffin is anointed the starter for week 1 next year? No. Do I think we start getting into the conversation about, hey, is it an open competition? Like, yeah, I think we should have that conversation. Do I think it will be? Absolutely not. And it is because, and I know you're a guy like best player goes out there, but there is some weight to being where you're drafted and how much money you make.
I would also say this. Hey, Brian, I would also say this, and this is, I think this is my opinion, and I think this is backed up by game tape, and I think this is backed up by stats in their context. I don't think Jameis has done enough to get benched.
What? Are you okay?
Yeah.
He was okay. He had 3. He was responsible for 3 turnovers today. Regardless of how y'all want to say who was responsible for what, he threw 2 interceptions. One they scored off of, and then the fumble they scored off that. We talking about 2 touchdowns that the ball left Jameis Winston's hand and went directly to the other team.
Yeah.
So this has been going on. This has been going on for This has been going on. I've been telling y'all since the Panthers game, like, hey. He is the problem. Like, he is the issue. It starts with him. I'm not saying I was arguing with Shell. He was saying DJ's loafed on a cutback. My thing is, like, you didn't give DJ a first chance to get to the ball. He threw the ball screaming. The cornerback was already lurking on him, knowing that, hey, as soon as he raised his arm up to throw it, I'm cutting on the route. That was just a bad decision, bad throw on Jameis. He has 55 turnovers and 42 starts. He is a turnover machine. Like, my thing is, you guys cannot make Jameis be the quarterback that you all want him to be. He is showing us every Sunday what type of quarterback he is. Like, how much coaching do you need when you are a paid professional to come out here and play in the league saying, hey, protect the ball, do not try to make too much, take the sack. Like, these are things you learn in middle school. Mm-hmm. It's like you were saying, he has to create new neurological paths to not do instinctive things when he turned the ball over. That's BS, man. He is the number 1 draft pick, came from a pro-style offense, from a national championship team, and won the Heisman. Like, with all those accolades coming into the NFL as a number one bona fide pick, he shouldn't have these like detriments to his game. Like, we are dealing with a quarterback that plays like a third, fourth rounder. He plays like Brett Hundley to me sometimes. Like, you every time he winds up to throw deep, I say, oh shit, here we go, because I don't necessarily feel like it's nothing gonna come out of throwing deep balls. We agreed earlier in the season that he cannot throw deep. So that's one part of his game he doesn't have. Now you have a quarterback that cannot throw deep. Now we have to settle for medium and screen passes. And that's all we have. A lack of a running game is also a problem too, but my scope and my tunnel vision is on Jameis Winston and his play alone. He do not like create opportunities for the offense to really have a fair chance on scoring. Like, you can throw for 4,000 yards, but we don't score any points and we still lose the game. What's the matter? What's the point? Peyton come in and give us 200 yards and win. You can say, oh, we played the two worst teams in the season, but we don't need 4,000 yards a season and still lose. I would settle for 3,000 and have a better record. Jameis is a blowtorch sometimes. In this game, when you respond for three turnovers and you saying he don't necessarily plays enough that bad to get benched is BS. Ren, you cannot keep defending him. Like, you are guilty of drinking the Jameis Kool-Aid. Like, this guy is showing us Sunday, each and every, like, he is playing the same way before the injury. You can say, well, he played X amount of games injured. No, he was playing the same way before he got injured. He played the same way or even worse when he was injured. He come back and y'all say, okay, has he learned from his Packers? You said what?
We were 2-2 before he got injured?
He was 2-2 before he got injured, but his play was still the same. He was still making, like, bad decisions, interceptions, fumbles. Like, we're not talking about wins and losses. We're talking about just what he does when the ball is in his hand. He is, if you're not getting better, you are getting worse. That is ridiculous to regressing. Like, he is regressing. Progress versus time. I do not see him getting better as a player. Like, you can say stats all day long, but we lose. Like, we cannot put points on the goal. We lost to the Packers. Telling me we could not outscore the Packers.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Brian, I will give you this. And and by the way, please don't think we're getting on you. I love you calling in. I love you sending in emails, and please continue to do so. I will agree with you. And I was having this conversation with some other people in the stands, and this was the head scratcher to us in last week's game. These guys can move the ball up and down the field. They can put 4,000 yards up on the stat line. I can tell you, just based on stats, Jameis Winston's, with the exception of Aaron Rodgers, Jameis Winston's trend lines are exactly in line, if not better, with other great quarterbacks throughout the history of the NFL. Like, he's right there with them. He's not out of line for anything that he's doing. The difference being, a lot of these great quarterbacks, by the time they got to the third year, they were on playoff teams. The difference being, we can dominate the stat lines. It's just the one stat that actually matters, which is the scoreboard, we're not dominating on. I said this to somebody today.
Winston dominates the turnover stat line too.
But he doesn't. That's actually false. That is, Brian. I'm going to vehemently disagree with you, and I'll even go back to the numbers that I just said to our previous caller. His turnover stats are going down. They are exactly in line with Brett Favre, with Tom Brady, with Matt Ryan, with Matt Stafford, with Cam Newton, with these other Russell Wilson's another one. The only one who's an outlier is Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers does not fit the mold for any of these stats. But for the other great, his numbers are exactly in line with what these other quarterbacks are doing in their first year, second year, third year. His numbers are in line. But the thing that baffles me and the thing that upsets me, and I think ultimately, because Brian, I've got the feeling that if they were getting down there and they were scoring touchdowns and not field goals, if they weren't coughing it up in the red zone, you wouldn't be nearly as pissed off at Jameis as you are. And that's the thing that baffles me is, why can't we score touchdowns more than what we've been able to? Now, we saw him put it in the end zone 3 times tonight. We got over 20 points. oh my God, we got over 20 points. When was the last time we got over 20 points in a game?
When Fitz played.
And that's, and there's the other thing too. I read somewhere, and I cannot verify this. The time that Fitz took to get the ball out of his hand was a second to a second and a quarter faster than what Jameis takes to get it out of his hand. Now that's playing with the same offensive line. That
is true as well. Jameis needs to learn to get through his progression.
He's got to get through it faster. And the other thing too is Jameis also spends more time. It seems to me, I don't have the numbers to support this. It seems to me Jameis winds that play clock down to the last second far more than what Fitzpatrick ever did. But again, Fitzpatrick is in what year as a quarterback? 9th?
85th.
85th, yeah.
Patrick's in double digits.
Is he? Jameis is in his third. So, in comparing these things to one, that's what Jameis needs to be. He's going to get there. So,
13.
He's in his 13th year. So Brian, that's where I'm going to come back on you on that. But the place where I 100% agree with you, the place where I find it absolutely maddening and infuriating is he can put up all these stats, but if we can't put points on the board, none of it matters. None of it matters, right?
And honestly, everything you're saying, Brian, is not wrong. You're not wrong. I'm just not where you are with Jameis Winston yet. I'm not there yet. I think you need more time, and I'm going to give it to you. We could come back 2 years later, and you call in, and I'll have to apologize to you up and down, and you were right, and you were Nostradamus, or I won't have to do that.
My thing, I ran one last thing. Like I said, I'm not gonna hold y'all up. My last thing, okay, you say 2 years down the line. My thing is okay. How long? I really feel like in the process of developing Jameis, and you say he needs to gain reps, he needs this, he needs it. Okay, right. So what the hell is he doing in practice? What the hell is he doing in the film rooms? What is going on behind the scenes before Sunday that he's improving before he gets on the field and shows us the product of preparation throughout the week? I feel like we're sacrificing seasons with playoff caliber teams to develop him. That's selfish. If this man is coming out here causing turnovers at the most unopportune times and giving the next team opportunities to score and making it hard for us, that's not fair to Deshaun Jackson. It's not fair to Mike Evans. It's not fair to Campbell. I feel like we'll start losing good players because they'll be so frustrated. These wide receivers' jobs depend on a quarterback. I don't necessarily feel like Deshaun Jackson want to come here and have a 700-800 yard season when he have 1,000 yards with 56 receptions last season. Even though he has more weapons around him, but I just feel like sometimes you have to really look at them and be man, our jobs depend on the quarterback giving us the ball, and Jameis makes it hard sometimes for the offense to really get it going. He is not the entire problem, but it starts with him. That's it, man. I just we agree to disagree, Ren, that we are not in the same place of looking at Jameis now as far as the development. You say he needs more time. I'm just getting frustrated because Brent, you said earlier in the season when we was all guilty of drinking the Kool-Aid for the team. We had very high expectations. So when everything is starting to crash and the ship is sinking, it's natural that everyone starts looking at, okay, who did what? Who's the problem? Who's the problem? Some people say the coaches. Some people say the positional coaches. Some people say the GM. Some people say defense, offensive line. I say Jameis Winston because it starts with him. If we had the same O-line versus no running game, and James was still going out, figuring out ways to not turn over the ball and protect the ball and still win, not be pretty wins, but still get enough points on the board to outscore the team, we'll all praise him high and mighty. But it's not the situation. What we expect out of a number one draft pick quarterback for a post-out offense, he has all the tools to prepare for the NFL, and he comes in and he plays his way, it's frustrating. And I'm not going to sit here and hear people try to make him to be the quarterback that you all want him to be when he's showing us a totally different product every Sunday. And that's just what it is. Maybe, we have to invest more time in him. I'm just getting to the point now that I feel hey, how many seasons are we going to, so to speak, sacrifice to develop James into the quarterback that we all want him to be? 6 years down the line, who to say Mike Evans still want to be with the team? Or Cam Brady or whoever. Who's want to come and play for us when they know we got a hot and cold quarterback? that's turnover prone.
Well, once again, you're not wrong. To answer that free agency question, and we're going to let you go, Brian, and thanks so much for calling in, man. Your calls are always the most fun, buddy. Free agents will come because of money, and free agents will become because of Winston. If you're worried about free agents coming to the Buccaneers, they got free agents when they didn't have half the talent on the roster or even half the talent in the huddle. And by the huddle, I mean at quarterback. People will come. That's, there might be a few that their ultimate decision is, try to win a championship, but there's only like 2 or 3 teams in the league that get those guys every year. So, I don't think that really is going to be an issue.
Yeah, I think, yeah, look, I get the frustration, and I mean, yeah, I get it, and you're right, I
mean, he's not wrong.
No, he's not.
Anything he said is not wrong. It's just I'm not there yet.
Yeah, I don't. I don't think statistically he's a turnover machine.
I don't either.
There's no thing I can tell you. Like I'm staring at his career stats. He's not, and he's in line. Like I said, he's in line with other quarterbacks in his development. I just think the frustration of the season is boiling over and getting a deal. Now, here's what we know about Jameis. Okay, we know that Jameis is the first one at the facility every morning. Like, he's there before anyone else. They talk about that, right? Jameis is putting in the work. Now, what is that consisting of? How is that translating to the field? Specifically, how is it translating to the scoreboard? It doesn't seem to be, right? And I think that's what's so maddening, and that's what's so frustrating. But I'll go back to what Brian Ford said. Everybody's there trying to figure out how do you bring a championship back to Jameis Winston. And I'll tell you this about Jameis. Listening to his press conference after the game today,
he was having none of it, wasn't he?
This guy is just as infuriated by the lack of wins as we are, and if not more so. This is disgusting to him. He is not settling for this, I'll take that. But Brian brings up a great point. How is it fair to these other guys to sacrifice their careers and their career stats so that Jameis can learn? And maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know. But
they're getting paid.
But they are getting paid. They are getting paid. So, yeah, I don't know.
And there's a lot more teams as far as an offensive guy or a wide receiver or a team in whole. There's a lot of other teams out there that, you would rather probably not be on.
Right.
There's not – I think there's more quarterbacks that wide receivers would not want to play with than there are quarterbacks that wide receivers would want to play with than Jameis Winston.
Sure. And, Jameis Winston at the end of last year proved himself to be a person that people wanted to come play with. That's why Deshaun Jackson is here, right? And, he may not get to the end of this year and have wide receivers clamoring to come to Tampa Bay so they can play with Jameis Winston. But, who knows what happens at the end of next year, and we'll have to see. And that's a crappy argument of, well, maybe they'll want to come next year. That's a real crappy argument. But with that, Ren, we are right up on an hour and a half. So why don't we go ahead and kind of close out tonight's show? I want to say thank you to everybody who called in tonight. I want to say thank you to everybody who's in the chat room, tearing up the chat room tonight over at mixler.com/the PewterCast. We have 3 shows a week that come out. Now, this week, I'm not entirely sure how everything's going to go. I think I mentioned at the top of the show, I'm actually going to be out of pocket for the majority of this week. So, Ren, you and I are going to have a conversation after this show and figure out what we're going to do for this week. But, hey, listen, guys, here's what I'd say. If you're going to send in an email to us for the Final Thought show, get that in as soon as possible because we may actually be recording early. So I just want to throw that out there. We may not have till Tuesday night. Like, go ahead and get that in just as soon as you can. We'd love to take your emails. But we do have a Final Thought show where we'll get a chance to kind of dissect everything and let the emotions of the game simmer down. And Ren, we'll have that conversation. And then we also have our Buck in the News show where we get a chance to talk about all the headlines and news reports. And we'll probably dive in a lot to the Ian Rappaport thing there at the Buck of the News show that comes out towards the end of the week. So lots of shows coming. Ren, I have one thing that I think I learned from this game, and I'm going to close out the show with this. The whole thing about white jerseys and red jerseys, that's completely a myth.
No, it's not.
We wore red jerseys. That. We wore red jerseys. We lost today. The whole jersey thing's a myth. It's done. All right.
No, come on. No, red jerseys at home. Battle ready, baby.
Red jerseys at home, and we lost. With that, Ren,
why lose a home game? Never mind. Sorry, go ahead.
Why don't you tell the people out there where they can get a hold of you on the internet?
You're hurting me. Though it's something that's very dear to my heart. Red at home.
The color uniforms.
At home. Wear red at home. Jesus, what's the big deal? Wear red at home.
Listen, the red uniforms I was saying that today. They look so much better. We may have lost today, but they look good while losing. I got to tell you.
Yeah, that white on white at home.
It's horrible. Horrible. Yeah, horrible.
Okay, anyway. You can find me on Twitter at Rendax, REN_DAXT. I'm always down to talk Buccaneers football. And I want to also thank the callers tonight, everyone that called in. I know I always give Brian props a lot because I say that I like his calls a lot. That's because we argue a lot, and I don't want him to feel bad. I want him to keep calling in. But every call tonight was really good, and it was fun to talk to everybody.
Yeah, and I echo your sentiments there. If you guys want to get a hold of me personally, you can find me at Brent Allen Live on Facebook and Twitter. And hey, listen, follow me this week because I'll certainly be documenting my adventures in Puerto Rico, kind of seeing what's going on down there a couple months after the big hurricanes and stuff. I know we've heard a lot about it. I'm going to go see for myself. So, but follow me. Would love to catch up with you guys there, or you can catch up with the show at the PewterCast on Facebook or on Twitter, on Facebook.com/the PewterCast. We are there, and send in your emails to thepewtercast@gmail.com. We would love to be able to take those and get those into the next show. So with that, Ren, game didn't go the way we wanted it today, but I still love being a fan of this team. So with that, we'll close this out by saying, as always, go Bucs.